Yo, what up, man? This is another slash for motherfucking Smoke and Think with Moody Montana with your host, me, Moody Montana. Listen, check this out, man. They done shot that motherfucking Chinese spy balloon down. What I don't get is, right, from the door, right, this shit came in from the other side of the United States. The other side of the United States. It came from the other side of the United States. Way over there by California and Hawaii and all that shit. You feel me? Past Hawaii and all that shit. Undetected. Undetected. Hover over the military base where they got the nuclears at in Mount Vernon. Down from Nevada, Las Vegas, and all that shit. Then travel all the way over here to motherfucking past South Carolina, North Carolina, all that shit. It's two of them though, but they shot one of them down when they hit the Atlantic. Why not let it go? Why not let somebody else shoot it down? It already done did its job. Let me see what's going on, cause I'm trying to see what they gonna catch it when they get it. Cause Chinese people is saying that China is saying that they it just winded off. Like it ain't no threat or nothing. You feel me? Like that's a big ass balloon the size of a moon. Shit, you mean that ain't man? You crazy as hell. That's something. Especially when I ain't pointing no fingers, but somebody is responsible for the corona shit. You know what I mean? But like that's crazy for they let that shit just go past the whole United States. Once it leaves the United States, they shoot it down. The fuck?
So the ability to go in there with Navy divers and do recover this stuff is also something that's probably there. And I would not be surprised, certainly with Norfolk Naval Base, that Navy divers have been activated, sitting out there on ship. And if they're unable to hook this thing to keep it on the surface for any amount of time, that they will simply mark where it went down, and we're going to bring in a lot of different sensor systems
I'll be
that are
scared
used
as
for
hell to
underwater
get that
recovery,
shit.
and possibly either use Navy divers to go down and get this. There's also remote devices, remotely operated vehicles could go down and hook this stuff and bring it up.
Yeah.
And we're going to recover this, and then begins the intelligence forensic piece where we tear it apart, see what they could have collected on, see what they have, learn things, if you will.
Yeah, and here at Live Now, we're awaiting any White House statement about this. We're awaiting as well, Hal, of course, Chinese reaction. They did say, at least their foreign minister said yesterday, they regret this. They said this is a, quote, civilian airship. Of course, that's the Chinese line at the moment. Hal, I'm curious, though. So many people have caught this. They looked up into the sky. They took a picture of it. They took video of it. Now there's going to be probably a pretty big throng of people on the beach waiting to see if they can, make sense of it or get a glimpse. Would the U.S. government want to talk to those people who have video of this? Would they want to look at it? Would they want to see or divine any information from people who have captured this, just everyday people like you and me? Is that something they would collect too for, information?
They might. It depends. It depends on how. If we think that we have enough that we don't need to get that,
Okay.
then that's not a big deal. It's a decision too. I'm going to tell you that when you go out there and the FBI knocks on your door and says we'd like to see the video on your phone, that can be a little intimidating.
Right.
All right. What they might do is do it in a rather, I would say, a soft approach, which would be, hey, if you'd like to share that with us, we would appreciate whatever you have. We'd be grateful for it. We're trying to find out as much about this balloon as possible. We're also tracking some details of when it was over different places, and we'd like to see any images of this balloon that people might have. And if you did it in that type of way, even if you were to go online, which they go online and they're going to see who's posting stuff, and they might try to contact them. That's possible. On the other hand, they do look at the possible ramifications of this, which is some people might really be irritated if the FBI was asking to get a hold of their video. They might have a different interpretation of what that means. So I'm not saying they're not going to do it, because I would think they're going to do something to try and do this. I would also say that from an open source intelligence collection standpoint, that there's a lot of things they don't really need to go out and ask them for, because they can literally see what people posted. So if they have a video of the balloon in our day and age, people will post that on Twitter, Facebook, all sorts of social media platforms. And so there is a wealth of imagery, if you will, that they can pull from that's already been posted online. And so that they'll probably exploit that first before they do anything more direct, like trying to contact those who actually filmed it to begin with. And I think that's just, there's a little bit of common sense there, but also and I would mention too, flying over eastern Montana, and I have a lot of family from that area, that if the FBI just came up and started knocking on their doors, that would probably cause a little bit of concern.
Now, y'all remember those sightings that they were seeing in the sky that looked like that? That people was taking pictures of it with the videos and shit that looked just like that. Could that been could have been a sign, like something to look out for? Like, could have been, because it looked like the same thing as it's falling. Watch this.
As to what's going on. So they're probably sensitive to that.
Hal, I'm curious, what is your view, what is your opinion? Does this rise to the level or the occasion that necessitates President Biden coming out in front of the American people, explaining the decision-making process behind this, explaining what the response is going to be now? Is this that big of a moment is what I'm kind of getting at here? Do you think we need to hear from the president?
I think he has to at this point. You can't have something this big and he just doesn't say anything about it. He hasn't said much. I mean, really, if you talk about the president and what he said, it was one very short phrase, which is, we're taking care of it, so to speak. And that's all we've had. Now that it's down, they're going to do the recovery effort. I would imagine, just because this is so high profile, we may find out some details that wouldn't be shared normally. I've been involved with stuff overseas, privy to some recovery efforts when things go down in the water. And I can tell you that we don't normally share those with the public, or share a lot of that with the public, because especially with intelligence systems, even if it's enemy or not enemy, but foreign intelligence systems, we just don't want to share what's going on with whatever they're doing. So, it's not always super secretive, but we do kind of try to keep it quiet as far as the details, because we don't want to reveal a lot of our methods and certainly our sources for how we know what we know and how we did what we did. We don't want that being disseminated, so we keep that very close hold. And so we're very circumspect with what we release publicly, lest somebody try to start connecting the dots to figure out how we know things and how we do things, so they can plan against us in the future. So, and there'll be some of that here. There's going to be a certain amount of operational security that goes on with this to make sure that we don't reveal too much to the public about how we do these things. Although some of the things that I've mentioned, we're not really saying too much, since in many cases we put those capabilities on recruiting commercials for some of the armed forces to get people excited about joining, the various different services. So it's not a super secret thing that we have the ability to. There's nothing secret about the ability to jump out of airplanes with parachutes,
Everything
or
is
jump
a
in the
damn
water out of
secret.
helicopters at low altitude, or put boats in the water, stuff like that. Because we put that out of there all the time as part of our regular public information campaign. But how they specifically do this one, there will be some details I'm sure they do not want to share with the public, especially if the underwater recovery portion, when they go in there and try to find the sensor system, stuff like that. Department of Defense has some amazing capabilities, and not ones that they necessarily want everybody to know the details of.
Yeah. Hal, we are getting now some more reaction. I just want to put up, though, this tweet first by Pentagon correspondent at Fox, Jennifer Griffin. She says U.S. fighter jets shot down the Chinese spy balloon over the Atlantic Ocean. So we still don't know what type yet. You're kind of indicating you think F-22 possibly. We were seeing some reporting F-16s were in the area as well. And then, of course, Hal, now we're getting reaction from congressional leaders and lawmakers on Capitol Hill. I want to just put this up. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer tweeting this out. I strongly condemn President Xi's brazen incursion into American airspace, and I commend President Biden's leadership in taking down the Chinese balloon over water to ensure safety for all Americans. Now we can collect the equipment and analyze the technology used by the CCP. We also are getting more comments in as well. This from Republican Congressman of Texas, August Pfluger. He says the Chinese spy balloon was not a surprise to the Biden administration. They should have dealt with this the instant it crossed into our sovereign territory, before it traveled across the entire United States. Unfortunately, the message sent abroad is that Biden will not protect America. Strong words there from that congressman. You have cautioned, and you have told me time and time again over the last couple of days, that that was not the right move to shoot this down over the continental United States. Obviously, some Republican congressmen disagree with that assessment. What do you make of that? Why was this the right move to shoot it down over water?
From a public safety perspective,
okay,
this basically eliminates risk to people on the ground. And I'm not saying it's not the right move per se.
Okay.
It's a risk assessment they have to make. If you shoot it down over a populated area, something of that size with all the equipment on board, and then the balloon itself, you risk the chance.
Sorry, I got to interrupt, Hal. It looks like President Biden is stepping off the plane there on the tarmac. Let's listen.
When I was briefed on the balloon, I ordered the Pentagon to shoot it down on Wednesday as soon as possible. They decided, without doing damage to anyone on the ground, they decided that the best time to do that was as it got over water outside within 12-mile limit.
But you the president.
We successfully took it down, and I want to compliment our aviators who did it, and we'll have more to report on this a little later. Thank you.
Mr. President, what did you say about China? What's your message to China?
You were saying the recommendation was from your national security.
I told them to shoot it down.
On Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
But the recommendation
They said to me, let's wait till the safest place to do it.
What does this mean for China, relations with China?
Y'all waited for the safest place for it to cross the whole United States.
Okay, Hal, that was quite interesting there. President Biden, very candid about the decision-making process. That's what I was curious about. I wanted to know when this decision was made. He said it was made Wednesday when he first learned about it. So we went to black there. But they said, his advisors cautioned that they should, like you just literally said, wait until the risk assessment is so low.
That makes perfect sense to me. And I'm sure they were tracking it. You know, these balloons and other ISR assets, they come over, occasionally stray over U.S. airspace and stuff. And it's not always something where the White House has to make a determined decision to do something. There is a lot of discussion going on right now, which I think is legitimate, which is when it was flying that arc up around the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, and even when it went into Canadian airspace, why didn't we take it out there? That's a very good question. I think that's something that U.S. Northern Command needs to take a hard look at the decision making on that, and as to whether there was a undue pause, because from what I can tell, and I may be wrong, but from what I can tell, it looked like it did stray into U.S. airspace when it made that arc. Now, if it never strayed into U.S. airspace, then I stand corrected. However, once it goes into Canadian airspace, that's still under NORAD. That's that big air defense command that we have under U.S. Northern Command, and the Canadian government and the U.S. government work side by side on that. We control that airspace as if it's one airspace. So it could have been brought down flying over, say, British Columbia or something like that, or the Yukon territories, depending on its exact arc. So it could have been taken down over there, and certainly that would have been a very, very low chance that it would have caused injury or damage on the ground, because it's so sparsely populated in those areas. But it did. Once it got over populated areas in the continental United States, it's a completely different risk assessment. Even when it gets down south over populated areas of southern Canada, it's a very different risk assessment. And if they had shot it down, and it's not causing any harm to the U.S., it's collecting intelligence. But if they had shot it down hypothetically, and let's say the balloon and all that stuff falls on a freeway and was to hit a bunch of cars or a bus or something like that, and people were injured or killed, I think that would be the discussion we'd be having right now. So these are all things that they have to weigh when they do this. And there is a certain Murphy's Law aspect of this, is if you shoot it down and you don't want to land on anything where it's going to cause serious damage or hurt someone, Murphy's Law will kick in, and the worst possibility may be what actually does happen. So they had to weigh that in with this. The other thing they're also looking at is they had to make a weaponeering decision on what to take this down with. You know, there have been many times in the past.
It was a missile. Took it down with a missile. My thing is this, yeah, Joe Biden, you did say shoot it down from the door, but you let them let that thing walk all the way across America. Don't know what it is, what the fuck it's doing, but you let it walk all the way across America. You let it pass America, it entered America and left America. Then they shot it down. For what? Let somebody else shoot it down now. Why are you shooting it down? It already done passed us, gave us or took whatever the fuck it did. It did its purpose already. You waited. What y'all think y'all gonna find in it? That's why I'm about to go start doing that. I'm about to start digging to see what they find in it so I can hurry up and hit y'all up with this shit. You feel me? This is crazy, man. This scary. This real scary. And the fact that a lot of people don't even know nothing about this going on, it's sad. It's sad, man. I'm gonna holler at y'all later though.